In today's update, the Guardians of the Rift changes are finally being released. First off, there are some changes that they have made based on the feedback from the beta, including that they have improved the bad RNG mitigation mechanics for the first 2 rounds of altar spawns, because players pointed out that rerolling air into water was effectively useless since that you would be guaranteed at least a medium tier altar in the second round. Now you'll be prevented from receiving back-to-back weak tier altars in the first 2 rounds, meaning that you'll be guaranteed at least 2 medium tier altars at the start of the game. They've also rearranged the order of interactions on the uncharged cell table. The default option is now take 10, and you can right click to use the take 1 option. The take 5 option has been sent back to the abyss where it came from. There's also now a window after a round ends where you'll be able to use your cells to create a guardian. Nothing will actually happen, but you will still earn XP. And most talismans obtained from the loot guardian will be obtained as notes to cut down on inventory clutter. If something hasn't been mentioned there, then it'll be exactly the same as it was in the open beta. And for the rest of you, here's what's changing this week. Prior to this week, most games as Guardians of the Rift began with everyone stood outside the entry barrier frantically clicking in the hope that they'll get in before the lobby fills up. If that sounds rubbish, it's because it was. But they're finally getting rid of it. As of today, rounds of this minigame will be scaled according to the number of players involved. If it's scaled to 100 players or more, you'll be able to enter and leave freely. Every time a player decides that they've had enough of these antics and leaves, the Great Guardian will helpfully rebalance itself. Gameplay should feel totally seamless. This should cut down on the frustration on themed Guardians of the Rift worlds where you'll frequently see over 100 players inside the game and a sea of people outside waiting for a chance to get in. Additionally, for every player beyond the 20th, there will be a 20% scaling penalty on the charge required for the Great Guardian. Effectively, that means that 21 players or more scales things up by a very small margin to account for the likelihood that players in bigger teams aren't pulling their weight. Once you've made it in, you can build some basic barriers or guardians using uncharged cells while the game starts up. This won't provide any runecrafting XP, but it should reduce your chance of the game becoming doomed from the outset, especially if you're on a small team. As the Rift opens up, you'll notice that they've adjusted the weighting of different altars to ensure that you're guaranteed an option that will give you at least a medium cell in the first 2 cycles. And again, that just simply gives you a fighting chance. During the game, you'll be able to use your cells to recharge barriers even at full HP, which will net you a maximum of 2,500 runecrafting XP and 450 energy per game. This should result in higher XP per hour, except in extremely long games. This cap should prevent unscrupulous runecrafters from simply running cells all game instead of properly contributing, but they'll keep an eye out to make sure that they've got the balance right. And if a barrier is destroyed, you'll be able to repair it using 12 Guardian fragments instead of 10 Guardian Essence. Moving on now to the reward changes. You can now big search the rewards Guardian to obtain 5 sets of rewards at once. You can also pay the reward Guardian 25 Abyssal Pearls to let you have another cheeky dip in the prize pool. This should work out to an extra roll roughly every 14 searches, which should be a nice boost for players chasing specific rewards. Abyssal Pearls will now also roll between 14 and 16 instead of 10 and 20. This should reduce the variance a bit if you've had a few unlucky rolls in a row and make progress feel steadier. But what if you haven't gone dry and you've been spooned the Abyssal Needle but you're ages away from actually being able to use it? This last change is for you. The Colossal Pouch now scales up with you, cutting down on clicking on the long road to level 85 runecrafting and serving as a valuable boost as you continue on to 99. They're scaling the quantity of the essence the Colossal Pouch can store, depending on the other pouches that you can already use. Here's how much extra essence that you'll be able to carry. The current pouches are displayed here on the left, and the updated Colossal Pouch has been added in here on the right. At level 25, the Colossal Pouch can have 7 extra essence. At level 50, it can hold 15 extra. At level 75, it's 26 extra, and at level 85, it's 39 extra. They get to these numbers by taking the amount of essence the pouches can store and subtracting the number of inventory spaces that they take up. For example, a small, medium, and large pouch would use 3 inventory slots, resulting in 15 extra essence. The Colossal Pouch will degrade after 320 essence has been stored, so it may feel like it degrades faster as you hit the new pouch thresholds. And that is all of the Guardians of the Rift changes for today. Next up, we have some mobile UI and official client fixes, because last week marked their biggest ever mobile update, including the launch of the new mobile UI and lots of new features for both mobile and the official client. As with any big release, there are a few bugs on their radar, and you can see a list of known issues in their mobile known issues channel in the Discord server. But here are the ones that they fixed in today's update. The bank pin interface is no longer overlapped by the left hand side panel, and after depositing paydirt into the hopper in the Motherlode mine, the sacks counter now correctly updates to display how many ores you've deposited. There's also an issue where the mini menu reordering button disappears if tap to drop, tile highlights, or NPC tags are enabled. They're still working behind the scenes to fix that permanently, but in the meantime, disabling all 3 of these features will make the mini menu reordering work correctly. There are a few Curse of ARL fixes this week as well. Last week brought the Curse of ARL back to Old School RuneScape to continue the next chapter of the Madrat storyline. The fixes today include that ARL's range device stats are now calculated and displayed correctly. It is no longer possible to walk into a wall at the Uzer Mastaba. The messenger who delivers Elias's message will now be able to find players while they are in bank areas, and if a player is venomed while defeating ARL, their venom will now be cured when they begin the cutscene. Next, we have some wilderness quality of life updates. Last week they shared the news post that was full of updates that they plan to release before the end of the year, but some of them are here already. You can now use blighted items in the Ferox Enclave and Mage Bank. You can now delete a loot key if it's worth more than 30,000 GP. The limit has been increased to 1 million. Look for Lance chest and the Muddy chest will now go straight into your looting bag if it's open. And they fixed an unusual interaction across single and multi-combat borders by removing the I'm already under attack message. And in Bounty Hunter worlds, where the PJ timer is shorter, they've removed the anti-boxing mechanic that allows players to PJ you after hitting multiple zeros in combat against an NPC. And aside from those quality of life changes, there are 2 other small tweaks. The escape crystal is now disabled in the permanent Deadman world, World 345, and they fixed a bug where 2 of the map links from Scorpius Dungeon weren't working. Following on from last week's merch update, there's also a free digital comic live now. Issue 0 of RuneScape Untold Tales of the God Wars is now free and downloadable directly from their official merch store website. This special issue builds on the 2023 free comic book day issue with an extended story packed with more fun, more adventure, and more lore. The pages of issue 0 are also included in issue number 1, which is a 48-page bumper edition that kicks off the story properly. If you can't wait to know what happens next, you'll also be pleased to know issue 2 will hit shelves on December 4th. There's only one other change this week, which is that they're removing the Halloween event from the game. And the PvP world rota has moved to period A. 539 is your US PvP world, 318 is the UK Bounty Hunter world, 548 for the Germany high-res PvP world, 577 for the US free-to-play PvP world, 559 for the UK LMS competitive world, and the Australian worlds 390 and 569 for LMS competitive and Bounty Hunter have been activated within this rota. And finally, the PvP arena is using Zerker loadouts in ranked duels and tournaments this week. That's all for today. I'll see you next week with another changelog update. In the meantime, I hope you enjoy your gaming.